Yeah, if you haven't seen the whatever the recent release of the Epstein Files is, it's strange, weirder than even I expected. It's not something I'm going to discuss the details of here because of whatever community guidelines we have on Twitch and YouTube. So it's not going to be that kind of discussion. And instead, I wanted to look at the application of a legal doctrine. And I'm going to be clear about this. The application of this legal doctrine does not apply to the Epstein Files. We're going to look at it more of as a philosophy of law. If we were to apply this legal doctrine to the Epstein Files, the way we apply it in the law, what would be the conclusion or what would be the takeaway? It's just a thought experiment, but it's a thought experiment on a powerful thing and an important thing. It could reveal something, is the point of the process. So, Wikipedia refers to an adverse inference as a legal inference adverse to the concerned or non-moving party, drawn from silence or absence of requested evidence. It is part of evidence codes based on common law in various countries. In the United States, an adverse inference applies in United States civil trials. Adverse inferences may be imposed as a sanction by the court in reaction to spoliation, a weird spelling of evidence spoliation or spoiling, such as the willful destruction of relevant emails or evidence. In this case, the court may direct a jury to assume that the evidence that was destroyed was negative or adverse or hostile to the destroying party, that they destroyed it to hide something. This applies not only to evidence destroyed, but also to evidence existing, but not produced in response to proper discovery. The adverse inference is based upon the presumption that the party who controls the evidence would have produced it if it had been supportive of their case. This is the big takeaway. The adverse inference is based upon the presumption that the party who controls the evidence would have produced it if it supported their case. It can also apply to a witness who is known to exist, but who refuses to identify themselves or produce themselves, or a party refuses to identify or produce them. It is also known as the missing witness rule or the empty chair doctrine. How do we apply this to the Epstein Files? Well, we've known for 6, 7, 8 years now, probably longer, that this conspiracy existed. I mean criminal conspiracy. I don't mean conspiracy theory. I mean criminal conspiracy existed. I'm sure that all of us in the public have been in various stages of belief and disbelief and non-belief of what have they proven, what haven't they proven, what do they need to prove. I think we can all agree that it is freaking weird, all the circumstances. You don't have this many coincidences without somebody's hand on the scale. You don't have this many weird things happening in the Epstein case, not just his non-suicide. You don't have that, like, in any normal case. So this is either like an extremely strange outlier case, in which case it should be investigated and that outlier validated or proven, or much more likely is that it's not an outlier and that there is a maybe wacko but still reasonable explanation based on a much more reasonable interpretation of the evidence and circumstances and such. We don't know what has actually happened yet. We are still piecing it together, and we're only able to do that. We're only doing that while some opposing party is actively distracting, dissuading, preventing, obstructing the information from becoming public. So if we go back to this doctrine real quick, the highlighted section, the presumption is that the party who controls the evidence would have produced it if it had been supportive to their case. So the Department of Justice / Trump administration / whoever is supporting that cause and has evidence to produce and is not producing it, they are not producing the evidence on time. They are meting it out. They are measuring out doses of the material. So I think it is safe. It was probably safe a while ago, but I think it's safe now, especially, to start to think about whether an adverse inference is warranted. Again, this isn't a legal doctrine being applied to a legal case. This is the philosophy of the legal doctrine, the presumption that the party who controls the evidence would have produced it, applied to this legal situation. So if the Epstein Files exonerated Donald Trump, or exonerated former Prince Andrew, or exonerated Bill Gates, or exonerated Bill Clinton, or exonerated et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, those people would want those things released. If it exonerated the people who have it in their control and custody, then they would want it released. They wouldn't need to further redact it and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let alone that they've had this opportunity for a long time now to do these things. So if we combine all of the things, the weirdness around Jeffrey Epstein's death, the weirdness around Ghislaine Maxwell's movement to more favorable prison circumstances, the meting out of Epstein Files despite there being a law that they should have been released over a month ago, the redaction, the carelessness and haste with which it's being done, those things don't add up to an innocent administration or an innocent party or an innocent man. Those things add up to an adverse inference, that you're not producing the things because what you're not producing is worse. What you're not producing doesn't exonerate people. What you're not producing incriminates people, probably in far worse ways than we're seeing in the absolutely wacko release that was recently made. Whether or not the things, the accusations that are made in those files are true or not, they need to be investigated seriously. A very serious investigation and nothing less. And justice to be visited upon those who hurt people. And if any of those wacko allegations turn out to be true, well, those people should suffer the appropriate harsh punishment for their actions. I'm trying to speak objectively here. You can go see my previous video for a more emotional take on these things. So I'm at the point where professionally, some of it's got to be true, and some of the truth has to be worse than what they're saying, because again, if the evidence they had supported innocence, they would be revealing that, as you do, as is normal in the law, normal in society. The fact that they're not revealing it, the fact that they're trying to hide it, the fact that they're so poorly and hastily hiding it, all points to they're hiding something worth hiding. Even against this backlash, something is worse than dealing with this now. They'd rather deal with this now, whatever this weirdness is, than reveal the actual rest of the files, because what's in the rest of the files is even worse than whatever the negative press is they're getting now. That's just my opinion. I'm unfortunately, I've been right a lot during this administration. Tactical says, the situation reminds me of Corey Feldman, who spoke out years ago against rampant child abuse by elites in Hollywood. People didn't believe him, thought he was cringe, and now the files show just how much tolerance there is for rich people hurting children. Yeah, that's been my experience. There's definitely, at this point, no conspiracy theory. There's definitely some kind of two-tiered justice system or some kind of system of avoiding justice built into the richest of the rich, who, I don't know, are they bored out of their minds, or is it a symptom of being that wealthy? I don't know. We can talk about that. I'm not trying to say eat the rich without any particular, direction. It's very important that we all move in the same direction. If we all move in different directions, we go nowhere. So not QAnon, not conspiracy theory. There needs to be a very serious investigation as to who is in the files and what is real and what's not real. And everyone, including the President of the United States, needs to be brought to justice if justice is due. Again, objectively speaking, I feel very emotionally strongly about this, but speaking objectively, there's no other way to look at this. There's no way to justify or minimize or normalize or what if or he said she said or but what about, but Clinton did it. Okay, we'll investigate Clinton too. Well, whatever, somebody else did it. Okay, fine, investigate them too. Like, oh well, I did it. Okay, well, investigate me too. Jeez, like. Well, that's where we are, is you should be investigating this. Why is Elon Musk supposedly begging to go to Epstein Island? That's weird. Somebody should investigate that. Somebody with the power to do something about it should investigate that. Like, duh. I'm at this point, I'm going in circles. We all know what I'm saying. So yeah, I think you might not have the legal right for any one of us to sue Elon Musk or sue the federal government and say, you're not enforcing because of an adverse. No, that's not something that you have standing to do. The philosophy behind that legal doctrine, if applied to the Epstein files, it's got to be worse. What's actually in the rest of the files has to be worse than what they've released. What they've released, if that's the non-adverse part, what does the adverse part say? Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below.